Welcome to Bookclub no Kiseki. I am Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
I'm Matt Jorgensen.
And the portion of Falcom's Kiseki series we'll be playing today is the prologue of Trails from Zero. That's right, on Embargo Day. Thanks to Falcom and NIS America for providing me with a review copy so we can get started on this game just in time for release.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yay.
It's the first time this has happened in the history of the podcast. It only took us some 5 fucking years, but here we are.
Yay.
But we're going to be posting this one like live in the feed on Embargo Day. So if you are a member and you're like, well, we're supposed to get these early, the next 2 bonus episodes of that we have planned are going to be are not going to be timed exclusives. They're going to be actual exclusives. So to make up for this one not being a timed exclusive, you're getting 2 fancy exclusives. So yay for you. But otherwise, this is a Ko-Fi exclusive or Ko-Fi timed exclusive sub podcast for our show. So if you like what you hear today and you want to keep following through the rest of Zero no Kiseki, you can do so by subscribing on our website at www.rpgbook.club. But this episode today, it's on. The game doesn't come out for another week, so spoilers. But it's only going to be spoilers up for the prologue of the game, which is basically nothing. You're not going to be missing out on much, or not going to be spoiled on much, I guess, if you listen to this before you play it. But before we get started, hail and well met, travelers. Has your hearth been warmed this fortnight?
No.
Cool.
Also, no.
I'm sick. My throat hurts. I've got chest congestion. I'm tired. It's great.
All of these sound like great ways to prepare to do an hour and a half of talking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I tried not to talk much today in order to save it all up for now.
Heck yes.
Also, I've been trying to repair an electronic device, but I can't get the screws out, and I've tried everything, and I'm ready to cry.
So if you have the correct screwdriver,
I do.
what you can do that unfortunately this may ruin said screwdriver, but you get super glue, like good super glue. You dab it on the end of your screwdriver, you stick it in the screw, and you let it dry, and then you get the extra oomph of the super glue keeping it on there to help you get it out. Then to save the screwdriver, you dip it in nail polish remover to get the super glue to break down. I wasn't able to do that in time, and so one of my screwdrivers permanently has a screw on the end of it. But
Put it in the freezer.
Okay.
Put what in the freezer? The device, the screwdriver, the screw?
Yes, the device. No, the screwdriver. That's an old model hobbying trick. The super glue will constrict and get real brittle, and then you can just snap it off.
Cool. But yeah, that's what I had to do for one of my computers to get it. So there's a Chrome box. It's like a Chromebook, but you plug up monitors and keyboard to it. To uninstall Google from it and be able to install whatever you want on it, you have to physically remove a screw from the motherboard, and that screw completely stripped, and I couldn't get it out, so I glued an Allen wrench onto it so I could then just take it off with the Allen wrench. And so same concept might help you get this one out.
This sounds like a lot of trouble to do with 8 screws, which are all recessed. It sounds like it would be difficult to do.
Yeah. If you want to ship it to me, I have a lot of stuff and could repair it for you. And I would do it just because I like you.
I may want to do that.
Yeah. And I like to take stuff apart and put it back together. So it'll be cool to do it with a device that I've never touched before.
Mm-hmm.
But what about you, Matt? How has your fortnight been?
Well, it sure has been a fortnight. Yeah. What did I even do? I played. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. I played the demo for Harvestella. That for those of you who don't know,
The Final Fantasy Rune Factory, right?
Yeah, the Final Fantasy looking Rune Factory. So the demo is either up to chapter 2 or the first 15 days. And if they don't screw it up, that game could be a really big deal. Like, it's really good in that farming game genre. Like, it makes changes that people have been asking for since like the second Harvest Moon. So like now it's not just water a plot, move, water a plot, move, water a plot, move. You just hold down the water button and you walk.
It's brilliant. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Worth the price of admission already.
I mean, pretty's worth saving up for. So I'll have smarter words about it when it actually comes out in November.
Mm-hmm.
But I played the demo and then I started another save file with which to play the demo again.
Nice.
So it's really good.
Yeah, if you're the type of person that Stardew Valley or Harvest Moon is your favorite game, then you should be happy because this Nintendo Direct had 5 of them.
Yeah, and like 3 of them look really, really good. 1 of them looks maybe good, and that last one was there, all right.
Yeah, it's nuts, and that doesn't even count the Disney one came out this week too, and
that one's weird. It's way closer to an Animal Crossing, and that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, but yeah, I love Harvest Moons, and I have loved them since Friends of Mineral Town for the Game Boy Advance. And at that point, nobody played Harvest Moons, and now everybody plays Stardew Valleys, and it makes me happy that it's profitable for 5 different companies that aren't Marvelous to make a Harvest Moon.
They're remaking Rune Factory 3?
Mm-hmm.
What is this world we live in?
Yeah. It's a great time to like to do chores in your video games.
It's a great time to love planting radishes.
As for me, I last night I went to the 5 Star Teas burlesque show here in Madison. It's hosted by Mercury Stardust from TikTok. It's fantastic. It was a whole lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed my evening. Yeah, Mercury was hilarious. The acts were awesome. Several of the acts were weird, which I'm all about weird art. And like one of the burlesque acts was a love song to a cheeseburger, and while doing their burlesque, they were eating a cheeseburger. And in another one, they pulled Justin Timberlake's decapitated head out of a box. So big recommend if you're in the Madison, Wisconsin area to check out 5 Star Teas every Friday. It's dope. I had a whole lot of fun. Other than that, I have been playing this game 3 weeks before everybody else got to, and it's real good, and I'm real excited to talk about it, and I'm glad that I can finally talk about it because I've been wanting to talk about it so much. So this game is Chrono Cross, and it starts you off in a dungeon that we're probably going to do 35 hours from now. And we're following a group of 4 people, Randy, Tio, Ellie, and Lloyd, and they are running through a temple of some sort, mumbling about there being some supernatural presence, and they have to keep their eyes open. You get to control Lloyd in the party, and right away I dove in to check out the new quality of life settings to see what I could, all the cool bells and whistles in this new Steam version of the game. So they have the same high speed mode that the PC versions of the Sky Trilogy have, but it's integrated in the game instead of a separate launcher that adjusts things on the fly. And you don't have to hold down a button to get into speed mode. You just can toggle into high speed mode. You can set a field speed and a battle speed. So I cranked my field speed up to 2 times so that I moved fast but could still like aim to get through a door. And then I set my battle speed to 6 times, and I haven't touched them since I can toggle in and out of it. If I'm trying to like perfectly time an S break, I just toggle it off, time the S break, turn it back on to skip through all the animations. And it's amazing. I can go full speed and not worry about skipping dialogue like I had to in the Evolution version. You can also remap all of your controls. The default control scheme is basically how it controlled on the Vita, which is cool and all, but it ended up putting like chat history is the trigger button now, and the mini map is like R1. It's very weird where some things landed up, so I remapped everything. I put the shortcut button on a trigger because that makes more sense for me to hold a trigger and then a face button to do a shortcut, and moved like the map button around and everything, and you could just remap everything to fit exactly what you want right at the beginning, which you famously could not do on the PC versions of the Sky Trilogy. I hated playing with a controller, and I also kind of hated playing with a mouse. It never was exactly correct to how I wanted before. After you get a ways into this opening dungeon, you see a stairwell that's leading down into a deep shaft that's covered in a weird red mist. Tio says that this place triggers some unpleasant memories and thinks it might be a stairwell to Gehenna, aka Hell. Lloyd says that this leaves them only one thing to do. They have to go bust some heads for the sake of everyone who helped us come so far. Fade to black, and Lloyd wakes up on a train, because if you're going to start a JRPG with the cold open, it has to end with somebody waking up. Those are the rules. That's how JRPGs work. On the train, he has a chat with the old couple that's sitting with him on the train and gets us some quick and dirty world building. We learned that Lloyd is returning to Crossbell for the first time in 3 years. And the couple tells him that Crossbell has been experiencing a huge economic boom lately, and a whole bunch of like skyscrapers and modern amenities have popped up all over the city, and that Lloyd might not even recognize it. It's basically the future compared to Liberal. Lloyd says that no matter how much Crossbell has changed, it's his home, and he's glad to be back. The old couple does some more world building about the trade sector and the mayor and the Crossbell diet, but it's a mile a minute, and I barely keep up. Lloyd pulls out a picture of Guy, his older brother, and Cecile, Guy's fiance, and he says that he made it back home finally, and the opening FMV starts. The FMV is done with dragon bone animation, and it's not very great dragon bone animation, but it's on model way more than the Evo movies, so I'll take it. The Evo movies looked weird. It was real anime, but it looked weird, so I'll take this one. Then after the FMV, the prologue proper starts. Lloyd steps off of the train, and we get to see the best thing about the Crossbell games compared to the Sky games. The camera is at a much lower angle, so everything just looks fucking cool. Like, so much of Kiseki just feels like a Super NES RPG. Like, you're just up above it. And yes, you can rotate your camera, but you're basically just bird's eye view. But the camera is so low and, like, intimate here that it's real fun to just walk around the city. It just looks really fucking cool. The graphics are fantastic. The polygonal graphics. They were already super awesome in Sky, and it's just like cranked to 11 here. Like all of the shops have a bunch of detail on their storefronts. There's cars driving around. There's foliage on all the bushes. It's
foliage.
Cool as shit. Foliage, not foliage. I accidentally the two letters in the middle once, and therefore my brain pronounced it the wrong way. And so although I can spell it right now, I cannot say it correct.
I see. I just wanted to make sure I pointed it out so you could be embarrassed.
Thank you. That's what you're here for. So I'm playing on my Steam Deck, and it runs flawlessly on the Steam Deck. It has Valve's big old seal of approval on it and everything, and it looks so freaking good all the time. Big recommend to the Steam Deck version, and I'm sure that it'll look just as good on the Switch and the PlayStation, because this is a PSP game, so it shouldn't be hard. But eventually Lloyd makes it to the police department, and it's his first day, so he asks the receptionist where he's supposed to go, and she's like, we don't have anybody starting today. And Lloyd's like, so I have my exam results and letter of recommendation from the police academy saying that I qualify for the job, and I have this letter that says I'm supposed to join the special support section. And the receptionist is like, I have no idea what that is. Right as
this is like my worst nightmare when starting a new job. I'll walk in the building and they'll just be like, "Who the fuck are you?"
That is, fun fact, that is exactly how my first day at GameStop went.
Nice.
No.
Because my boss misread the schedule, and she was borrowing a manager from another store and did not tell them that I was coming in for training.
Gotta love it.
It was super funny.
So while Lloyd is talking to the receptionist, an unshaven man named Sergey shows up, and he's like, Lloyd's with me. He says he's going to be working in his new department, and that everybody's waiting on us down the hall. So we follow him back to a meeting room where the rest of the group from the cold open are all gathered. Lloyd introduces himself, and so does everyone else. Turns out that everyone is a rookie, and only Lloyd has any training whatsoever. Everyone else was scouted as a civilian. Lloyd is like, so what the fuck is a special support section, and why has no one heard about it? And Sergey lets us know. So the cops fucking suck, and people hate the cops because they suck. And they basically only like bracers as the people that they go for help when they're in need. So Sergey suggested to the other cops that maybe they should, I don't know, help people instead of sucking so bad. And the cops said no, they didn't want to do that. So Sergey had to build the SSS basically from scratch by himself to so that the police could actually do their job. And I thought that I would hate this game because it's propaganda, and I thought I would have a lot of like fuck the police responses the entire time we made it through. But I don't even have to do the thing I normally do where I pretend that like fictional cops are like all work for SHIELD. They're all lower level SHIELD agents. They're all superheroes. That's the only way it makes sense, because the people that you see in cop shows is not the people that are cops in the real world. But I don't have to really do that here, because it's completely plausible that the police suck, because they do, and no one likes the police because no one does. And if there were a radical police chief that was like, hey, what if we, instead of killing black people, actually helped people do the things they need help with, they would get laughed out of the room, and he would have to do it under the table or something like that. So I can get down with the ideas behind this game a lot more than I thought. I'll still keep an eye out for propaganda and call it out as it goes through, but it's surprisingly less than I thought it would be when I knew we'd be playing as cops in this game.
As an American, it's just weird to me that everyone reacts to the police sucking by not liking them, rather than most of the people reacting to them sucking by worshiping them.
Yes. So Sergey takes us to our first mission, which is clearing some monsters out of the tunnel system under the city that's known as the Geofront. Shout out to the Geofront people in the real world. They're the people who translated this game and made us be able to get these two giant games that basically we had all just accepted would be dead forever. And then they worked things out with NIS America, and now we can play the game legitly. And it's super cool. But the Geofront endgame is basically a sewer dungeon. So he gives us our orb mitts, which are also our police badges and also cell phones, because that's cool.
I thought our journals were our police badges.
Our orb mitt does have like badge on the outside, but I think you're right. I think it's actually our journals that are our badges.
You'd think we'd just have a badge rather than a thing that is also a badge.
Yeah. At this point, I realized that my characters aren't level 150 anymore. So they only have one slot open and only one quartz. So I can't just put attack 5 and heal 5 on everybody. So I only have one healer right now, and it makes the fights harder because I can't
bright
just...
side. It's a chance for us to start a new rock collection.
It is.
It's really weird how now you're just killing 5 rats in the sewers instead of attacking and dethroning God or whatever.
Yeah.
After the past 2 games.
Yeah, we literally went to hell and fought 77 demons from scripture last game, and now we have to clear some rats out of some dude's basement to get $50. Before we go in, Sergey makes Lloyd the leader of the SSS, since he's the one that actually went to the police academy and he's trained, and he sends us into the Geofront to go and fight some monsters. The group says that they're glad that a real detective is the leader, and they do some deeper introductions, like their age and a little bit about them. And we learn that Tio is only 14, and she was assigned here not technically as a member of the SSS, but as a consultant, because she's too young to actually be hired by the police. But she's here to test out the new Orbital staff weapon for her family's company. Basically, because these games are extra and everything about these games has an in-universe explanation, she uses an Orbital staff, which means her basic attack is a magic attack, and it uses her magic stat, but doesn't have a cast time and doesn't use her MP. But they talk about that at length. Tio asks if you want to hear about how orb mints work, and you can skip the tutorial if you want to. I did, because this isn't my first Kiseki game, and what a weird like it's not the worst game to be your first Kiseki game, but it's definitely weird to just start on number 4. And every time I'm playing a game and I'm deep in the series and it's like, hey, do you want a basic tutorial on how to move your character? It always like blows my mind. Like who's just playing game 4 and doesn't understand the basics from the last couple of games? Then we go into the sewer dungeon and have a combat tutorial, and the combat is literally exactly the same as it was from last game. The only thing that's different is now you have they added a turn bonus. It's like a group attack where everybody, if you successfully hit, everybody gangs up and attacks the bad guy, and it's pretty cool looking. Partway through the geofront, we hear a small child crying, and we decide to help him, even though it's not directly in our mandate. We find the kid, and he says that he and his brother were playing near the bell in the square, and they fell into the geofront, and his brother is missing. We can decide to take the kid back first, or stick around and find his brother and keep the kid safe. I chose to stick with the kid, and so did the LP that you guys watched, because we only got 1 review code, so I'm the only one that's played it at this point. So I'm not sure how it's different if you choose to go back. I don't know if it's a but thou must, or you like are down a party member or what. We find the brother surrounded by slimes, and we dive in to save him. We kick the slimes' butts, and the kids are like, wow, are you guys rookie bracers? Because only bracers could be this cool. And we're like, no, we're cops. And they're like, fuck the police, no justice, no peace. And they instantly hate us for being cops. Their parents told them not to trust the police and to call bracers instead. So they're like, fuck you guys. Just then a giant monster drops in, and we're like, well, fuck, what do we do? And Lloyd's like, okay, I'll fight it. You guys save the kids and get to safety. I cannot beat it, but hopefully I can get away after I draw its attention. But then the hot man from the manga that we met, he shows up to kill it in 1 hit because bracers are cool and cops drool.
Oh, was he one of those characters that had 1 line at the end of the manga?
Yeah. I only remember him because he has a facial scar, and facial scars are hot. So the kids run over to this guy. His name is Arios, and they're super into him. He says that the Bracer Guild got a report that some kids were playing near a manhole, and he came to investigate. So he promptly takes all the credit for saving the kids. It's not what he came here to do. He just showed up, killed 1 monster, and he's taking all the credit. Ellie and Lloyd recognize Arios as the Divine Blade of Wind, so he's apparently a Cassius level dude, because Cassius was also a Divine Blade. So we'll see if every NPC knows Arios, just like everyone knows Cassius. Back outside of the geofront, Arios is taking all of the credit with the press, who in this game is a hot lady named Grace. She is a decent replacement for Niall and Dorothy, but I will still miss them a lot. She's like, oh man, the bracers are awesome and can do no wrong, and sorry to the SSS, it sucks to suck, and takes a picture of both of us and leaves. Lloyd calls in on his cell phone orbment, and they're called into the vice commissioner's office, who isn't Sergei. Sergei's just a chief. Commissioner is above him. He's super pissed that we got bad press, so he tells us to quit the SSS, and he'll place us on regular detective teams. And we're like, I don't think so. And he's like, just sleep on it. You can tell me tomorrow. As we leave, everyone's like, so it kind of seems like the police department sucks, and everybody's political and scheming against each other and trying to like they're trying to shut us down just because they hate Sergei and just want good press more than anything else, and that's kind of fucked. Lloyd, are you okay? Because I know you wanted to be a cop. And he goes, yeah, this is just different than what I had expected. Some random detectives come by and are like, oh, it's Lloyd, your Guy's brother, right? And the party's like, who's Guy? And they're like, oh, we'll let Lloyd tell you. And they back off. Sergey calls us on our cell phone and tells us that our belongings have been brought to the dorm, which is the SSS's HQ in the central square. So we head on over.
I like how this totally, like, this section of the police, which no one likes and is an afterthought, they get an entire building to themselves. And they're like, oh, it's run down. But I'm like, still, you get a whole building to yourselves.
Yeah, when Lloyd first shows up, he's like, oh, that old office building is the only thing from Old Town that's still standing. So it is supposedly beat up, but it has the internet in it. And there's only one computer that's internet capable in all of LeBurle. So it can't be that bad.
It's that one building, right, that the city keeps around for tax purposes because it's too expensive to knock down. And they're like, just do what you have to make it okay.
Yeah. When we get there, Sergey tells us the long and short of the SSS and how we're supposed to be an answer to the Bracer Guild and how it's not really going over well so far. So we'll have to fight tooth and nail to be taken seriously, both by the townspeople who all hate cops and the cops who hate Sergey and everything he's about. Sergey reiterates that this is a voluntary position, so if we want to quit, we can. That night, Lloyd is thinking in his room about his brother and how he solved big cases as the head of the 1st Division of the Crossbell Police Department. And all the bickering political bullshit of the detectives that he met today is not really what he wanted when he decided to become a cop like his brother. We then can go and talk to the whole party and get their opinion on everything. And basically, they all just decide that they want to join the SSS and not be a normal cop. After we go in and accept the position, we see a flashback of Lloyd and Cecile at Guy's funeral. People there are wondering how the police would let one of their own die like this and not even investigate it. And basically, the public reaction to Guy's death like further made them not trust the Crossbow Police Department at all. Cecile tells Lloyd that even though she and Guy never married, he's still her family and she'll always be there for him. We fade back to the present and Lloyd is putting flowers on Guy's grave, and he thanks Guy for watching over him and that he promises to make Guy proud. Back at HQ, we go over the basics of being a Triple S member, and it's basically exactly Bracers. We have a notebook we have to fill out, and how well we do determines how much we get paid when we report. It's the Bracer system for the last 3 games. Well, I guess we didn't have the Bracer system in the 3rd, so 2 of the last 3 games. We also have a computer instead of a bulletin board. It's where we get missions and requests from the town people. It's also where we turn things in. We get our first request, which is to just tour the city and see everything. So we do that. After we complete that mission, we get another one to exterminate a monster at the Geofront. So we head off that way and do that one too. A lot of small things happen. Nothing important really happens. On the way out of the Geofront, we get a call that we're needed urgently in the downtown district, which is basically the slums of Crossbell. The police have completely given up on it, and none of the funding that's been making Crossbell flourish seems to ever make its way into downtown. In downtown, some rival gangs are gearing up to have a big-ass fight, and we need to go break it up. The 2 gangs are the Saber Vipers and the Testaments, and they're quarreling in the street, and we stop. You have violated the law at them, and they laugh at us because the police are dumb. They ask us to put our orbment where our mouth is, and we have to fight both gangs at once, and it's easy. After we beat them, their bosses show up. The Saber Vipers leader, Wald Wales, is a big hot hunk of a man whose anime picture is way better than his in-game sprite. Like, their hair is not the same, and if the hair he has on his sprite is very stupid, the hair he has in his anime picture is very hot. He's the leader of the Vipers, and then the Testament's leader is Wazy Hemisphere, which is a very Trails ass name.
It's quite a name. I feel like that's not the name of a JRPG character. That's the name of a JRPG.
Wazy Hemisphere : The Journey of Our Fathers or something.
Lazy Hemisphere, Infinite Undiscovery, The Last Remnant.
Basically, yes.
Easy Hemisphere, the Great Mouse Detective.
But Wazy Hemisphere is also hot in the cool androgynous sort of way. And both of them are like, why would we stop fighting just because the police asked us to? We're going to have the ultimate showdown of Ultimate Destiny in a couple of days, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. So the party is like, okay, we managed to stop today's fight, which is all we have to do. So let's get out of here. And Lloyd is like, no, we need to stop the fighting in general, not this one fight. If there's going to be a big bloodbath in a couple of days, that's going to be way worse than just these guys fighting today. So we need to find a way to prevent that big fight from happening. So the first thing we need to do is figure out why they're fighting at all. They don't seem to hate each other. They were standing on opposite sides of the street yelling at each other instead of just like stabbing each other. So they must have a reason for wanting to wipe each other out. So we head into the Testaments layer to talk to Wazy, and he agrees to talk to us. We ask him why that they want to fight the Vipers, and he tells us that the other night one of their members was walking downtown and was assaulted from behind with a nail bat, which is the signature weapon of the Vipers. So it's pretty obvious it was one of them, and he was beaten up so bad that he was taken to the hospital, and he hasn't recovered yet. We thank him for the information, and we leave to talk to the Saber Vipers to get their side of the story. Wald won't talk to us unless we fight their whole gang, but Lloyd is like, the police can't really instigate a gang war, so instead you and I will just spar one-on-one. And Wald kicked my ass.
Lucky.
God damn it.
In the LP, it looked like a really hard fight.
You only have one quartz that you can slot, and mine was slotted to Earth, so basically useless. And you only have a couple of recovery items, and he hits really hard, and you just kind of have to be good at the game, which I'm only kind of good after 3 whole games. And I didn't lower the difficulty when I retried, but and I beat him on my second try, but it was very close. If he would have gotten a critical or 2, I would have got my ass completely stomped. But after we beat him, he tells us the story, and it's surprisingly like Wazy's. On the same night, a couple of weeks ago, one of the Vipers was sniped by a rock from a slingshot, which is the signature weapon of the Testaments, and he was knocked unconscious and hasn't recovered.
I'm sure getting hit with a rock fired at high velocity from a slingshot is bad, but I feel like, I don't know, one gang uses bats with nails driven into them, and the other uses slingshots.
Yeah.
The Testaments are dorks.
They are. Their uniforms are extremely dorky.
Fucking Gen 3 through 5 Pokemon gang.
Absolutely.
Whereas the Vipers are a Gen 7 through 9 Pokemon gang, which is much better.
Much, much better. Outside, we regroup, and Lloyd says that it's fishy as fuck that the attacks happened at the same night, and neither side knows why their people would attack the other. So, seems like something's not adding up. Just then, Grace shows up, and she says that she's chasing a story about these gangs, and so if we scratch her back and let her know what we know, she'll give us the missing piece of the puzzle. So we meet with her over dinner, and she tells us about Ravache. I did not listen to the voice acting as it pronounce this, so I have no idea how I'm supposed to say it. But it's a company in Crossbell that's just a front for the Mafia. Apparently, they've been making a lot of moves lately, but people haven't been able to tell what exactly they're up to, just that they've been busy doing something. And a few weeks ago, on the same night as the attacks, some Mafia members were spotted snooping around downtown earlier in that day, being shifty, wearing civilian clothes, trying to not get caught, but they definitely were seen in the area right when the attacks were going down. And this makes a whole lot of sense, but why would they make these two gangs fight each other? Because the gangs had been friendly before, so what really was the motive? The gangs are low-level gangs. They're not like rivals for the Mafia. It really makes no sense. There's no motive here.
They're religious cosplayers who use slingshots on one side, so they're really not a huge deal.
No. So we go to tell Sergei what we know and ask for help, but he tells us that he can't. The Mafia being involved makes this super nasty, and he's kind of hated by everyone, so he can't really rally any troops for us based on just the stuff we have. But if we want to continue investigating it, that's on us. He can't officially condone it, but he can't tell us not to, but he can give us the information for a lawyer named Ian Grimwood, who might be able to help us. When we get to his office, a bespectacled man comes out, and he has a portrait, so he's probably important later, but for now, he just tells us that we sucked and to eat shit and die. Inside, we talk to Ian Grimwood, who goes by the Grim Grizzly, and he's hot. And he and Lloyd talk about Guy, and the party's like, wait, what the fuck? Lloyd, your brother was a detective? And Lloyd says, yeah, he was one of the best, and he died 3 years ago, and that's why Lloyd fled town for a while. The Grizzly says that he's been looking into Guy's death, but he doesn't have any leads right now. Lloyd says, that's cool and all, but that's not what I'm here for. I just want some info on Ravache.
I'm pretty sure it's Ravache.
Ravache, yeah.
I didn't listen to the voice acting, but that's what my heart says. But then again, I thought Agate would be something else, and layaway, so who knows? It might be pronounced Renault.
So he tells us that all of the Diet members have either ties to Erebonia or Calvard, and Erebonia and Calvard are both yanking at Crossbell from either side to control it. That's why they have a non-aggression pact, and that's how they're keeping neutral in it, because if they align with one side, they'll get attacked by the other. So if they stay non-aggressive, they're only being attacked politically and not militarily. But the Mafia is funding people in Erebonia and Calvard and the Diet, and kind of have everything in their pocket, so they really can't be stopped. So why would they be making these moves and shaking things up? And the Grizzly tells us that a new threat from Eastern Calvard has shown up. They are called the
This one I do not know how I would pronounce it. Who?
The voice acting says the Hey You.
Hey You.
Yeah, but it's an H and a bunch of vowels. They recently opened up in the Harbor District and are going to be like a rival mob against Ravache. And a mafia war would be so much worse than this gang war that we're trying to stop right now. Grimm says that the 1st Division has been watching over these developments, and that the bespectacled man earlier was Inspector Dudley from the 1st Division. We piece it together that the Mafia must be trying to take out one gang to get members so that they can resist Heyu. Crossbell has because they have the non-aggression pact, they can't just hire Jaegers, which is what Mafia normally does, because that would be hiring a military force, which would be an act of aggression and could be real bad. So instead, they're trying to make the gangs take each other out so that the survivors would be able to join Ravash. So we decide to go and tell the gang leaders, and we convince them that that's what's going on. We get them caught up, and they're like, okay, well, we don't want to join the mafia. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So let's team up and get the mafia out of our hair so that we can go about our business and do our own stuff. And so the way we decide to catch them is Lloyd wears the stupid fucking nun cosplay for the Testaments and walks unaccompanied downtown over and over again until the Ravash is like, well, none of the gang war hasn't started, so let's make it happen again. And so they jump out and attack Lloyd, and Lloyd was expecting them, of course, and it's a way to catch the mafia and keep them from to catch them. I don't know why I was going that sentence, but after the mafia jumps out and attacks Lloyd, and Lloyd is like, we were expecting you. Both gangs pop up and try to corner the mafia people, and you end up having a boss fight with two of them, and it's not super duper hard. And by the time you take care of those, back in like the center of the downtown area, both gangs have showed up to like corner and beat the shit out of the mafia, and the mafia is like, oh, you guys, like, you really did it now. The mafia is going to be against you. And then Grace shows up and is like, oh, well, Cotton 4K, the mafia has gotten beat up by these little dudes. So, leave everybody alone. And so the something they mentioned the Arios, and that's the thing that actually scares them away, not the cops or the press or anything. It's just the bracer, of course. And they run away. And so we're like, okay, well, we did it. We stopped the mafia. The mafia is not going to meddle with you guys anymore. Y'all realize there's no reason to fight, so you guys are going to be friends, right? And they say, fuck no, we're still going to be rival gangs. Like, sure, we won't kill each other in the streets, but we're not going to.
Gangs work.
We're still going to be rivals. It's fine. And
Lacey and Walt are definitely boyfriends, but they are still definitely leaders of rival gangs.
Absolutely. So then we go back to Sergei to report everything, and he says that we've done a really good job, and he's proud of us. But as we can tell, things are fucked in Crossbell, and it's going to be super hard for us. And they name drop the title of this game, Trails from Zero, and it's basically they have a 0% chance of succeeding in what they're setting out to do, but the possibility is never zero, and the only place you can go from rock bottom is up. So they're going to trails from zero.
They're going to go trails from zero, trails to Azure, because that's the opposite of zero.
Yeah. And it's corny, but also makes enough sense where I'm like, okay, that's why this is Trails from Zero, because they're starting from scratch and have to go be JRPG heroes when they start out where everyone hates them. And that is the end of the chapter. I don't think anything else important happens. It's just a lot of talking.
A lot of talking in a Trails game.
Yeah, the dialogue only Let's Play that Matt and Bernard watched is like 4.5 hours, and none of that is the dungeons or the boss fights that I had to do.
I skipped pretty much the entire section where they're touring the city.
Yeah, all of that's optional.
That'll be fun to see when I actually play the game.
Yeah, I'll get there for Mim Moms. So yeah, we end the chapter. Luna the cat walks out to ask us if we want to save our game, and we say yes. So let's listen to some more music from Trails from Zero, and then talk about our memorable moments. Yeah, so I feasted on this game because it's awesome, and I got to do it so early because of the review copy, and I did a bunch of side content. I did a bunch of exploring. There's a whole subplot-ish thing where you can go and talk to Cecile and your aunt and your uncle and all these other things that you can do, and there's a bunch of requests you can take and stuff like that, and it's good, and I like it a lot. I don't think I will be covering all of the side content like I did way back in the first game, because that's a lot. And I mean, I'm not going to be able to make Bernard play it, so it'll just be a lot of me talking to myself. But it's really good, and it's fun. Like, Sky the Third was really cool and really interesting, and I really liked it. But it's great to just be playing a regular ass Trails game again, and I'm excited to do so. It's been a hot minute.
Speaking of hot, I mentioned that Sergey and Wald are hot, but it's also important to note that Randy and Ellie are also hot.
Mm-hmm. Ellie is very, very hot. Lloyd is the most generic Trails character I've ever seen.
I actually really like the design of his outfit.
Mm-hmm. His
hair is very generic, though.
Yeah, his hair is the same hair that like every American-made JRPG that tries to have an anime aesthetic, they give this hair to that person. Like Le Grand Legacy is the first one that came to mind. Has just this haircut. But I do really love his police jacket and his Squall Leonhardt pants.
I also like that his last name is Bannings. It makes me imagine him being a forum moderator banning anyone who steps out of line, because that would be in line with his personality, I think.
Yes.
I also like his sci-fi tonfas.
Yeah. I love the design of Crossbell. Like, Liberal was all like steampunk, and Crossbell is sci-fi. Just like straight up, like it feels 200 years in the future compared to the last games.
It made me think a lot of Avatar, the whatever of Korra, the second Avatar series, where even though this does not take place in the future, it takes place like right after the previous games. It just takes place in a much fancier place. It's really cool. I love the design of Crossbell. It's really neat.
And the city itself is a fantastic JRPG town. like if Maddie were here, we could wax poetic on how to have a good JRPG town, and Crossbell, it did really good. A lot of games that take place in one city don't have as good of a one city as this one does, and I like it a whole lot. It's very fun to walk around and things loop back to to themselves in a logical way, and it's really good. It's very vertical too, which is nice. But any memorable moments?
I had to look up. I hate Googling anything about Trails because there's going to be spoilers, but I had to Google to see if Tio is a robot. She's not.
Okay.
I was getting major robot vibes from her.
Yeah, she's very robot adjacent. And
she's always talking about how this is not in the database, and I'm like, what?
Are you the database?
Are you on the internet in your brain right now? Are you a robot?
Yeah. Very, very major robot vibes, especially like in the cold open. She's like, oh, I sense Mirage and Space Sepith here, so there must be supernatural. I'm like, how do you sense a particular color of quartz? What's going on there? Are you a robot? So we'll figure out what's going on there, but at least she's not a robot.
Also, I like how Randy is being introduced to Lloyd, and he's like, hey, do you want to see my porn? I have a lot of porn if you want to see it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, where Olivier was a horn dog in like a silly, poetic bard sort of sense. Randy's just Randy. He's just horny on main, and it's fantastic.
Oh, also, Grace and the receptionist are hot.
Yeah, I really, really like Grace, which is saying a lot because I really, really like Niall and Dorothy. And she is a little bit Dorothy, but she's not exactly Dorothy. And she's like her own thing. And still, I like her a whole lot.
She's like, what if Dorothy was a competent adult?
Yes.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah. What about you, Matt? Did you have any?
There's a specific mem, but it's a let's put a pin in this until later.
We're only 3 games away from when we won't have those anymore.
I'm gonna have like a 3-hour episode where it's just like, so remember when I said we put a pin in here? Well, let's pull that up. Let's talk about this. But there is this one will likely come up. That's it. That's what I'm gonna say about that. I'm gonna stop there. But I do like this. I don't think it's not really a thing that gets addressed, and it's like it's not a. This world seems cool in a like organized crime, rival gangs fighting each other. That's kind of like a historical thing or a film noir thing. It's not usually something you see in like science fantasy, and I think that's neat.
Yeah, I also really like he's no Estelle. Like, let's just get that out of the way.
But who is?
They can't bat 100 on protagonists. They can only bat like 98.
I mean, batting 100 is pretty terrible.
I don't.
What you want to aim for is batting 1,000. That's batting perfectly.
So I
remember this because I'm a homosexual. I remember this from Mama Rose singing starting now, I bat 1,000.
Cool. I'm glad it's not actual sports. I wouldn't trust you anymore if you knew the math behind sports.
I mean, that one's not hard math, though.
Shut up, okay?
Had that reminds me of a funny experience I had where I was playing Mario Golf with a dear friend, and he was like, wait, what's this? What's this? What's this? And I'm like, you don't know the rules of golf? How do you not know the rules of golf? And it's just like, it just blew my mind. And he was like, I don't know. I'm Latino. You're white. You know golf. I don't necessarily. And I'm like, I guess I don't know. I had to teach him golf.
That's amazing. But yeah, I really, really like Lloyd. He reminds me of a Digimon protagonist where he really wants to help people, and he joined the job that on the tin says that lets you help people, and now they don't. So he's going to help people anyways, and he's really plucky, and I admire that in an anime protagonist. And he already has like depth and stuff to him with like Guy's death and his relationship with Cecile and his aunt and uncle and stuff like that. And I'm sure that he will be more than just a plucky Digimon protagonist. But as of right now, I like him a lot. And we'll see if he can live up to Estelle and Kevin. Anything else Mim-momish to talk about?
You know, I what Matt said earlier made me think of being back in, fucking Sunday school, Wednesday night youth group, that kind of thing, and going around the circle saying your prayer requests, and sometimes people are like, I have an unspoken request. So Matt just has unspoken Mim-moms.
I have so many. There's so many cool parallels here.
Yeah.
So many.
If I remember correctly, Crossbell ties in before Sky does to Cold Steel. So we're closer to you being able to talk about these than we are to you being able to talk about all of the ones so far.
I thought these two games were concurrent timelines. Were like concurrent with Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2.
I think they are.
Because it isn't until 3 where they give you that like aggressively extensive primer on the Trails in the Sky and Zero games.
Yeah.
That like me, an English major who has read books that probably weigh more than I do when actual put on paper, thought, wow, you guys tone it down a little, okay?
Yeah.
Or send me a PDF, please.
That reminds me of the ones in Kingdom Hearts 3 were surprisingly succinct and detailed, and probably the best way you could have made a Kingdom Hearts 3 in which nobody had played any of the games since Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yes, I'm looking at it now, and the Crossbell arc overlaps with the first two Erebonia games.
Dope.
And then it looks like there's a bit of a time skip, and then there's the third Erebonia game.
Yep.
Yeah, I knew there was a time skip, a la Three Houses.
I mean, it's not that much of a time skip.
But, yeah, I am excited to continue playing through this game. If you are a subscriber and you're current and you want to keep going, it'll be like 3 weeks before the next episode. We got to wait for the game to come out and Bernard and Matt to catch up before we charge on to chapter 1. But we wanted to get this out on embargo day because that's cool. So, yeah, in the meantime, we are still planning on doing the Campanella quiz game and the in-game novels that we didn't cover because the first one apparently became very important to the plot of this game. So we're going to read the other ones live and react to them and see if that's any good. So those 2 bonus episodes will be up for podcast members in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll keep going with 0 right after that. But yeah, that'll do it for the week. This series is a timed exclusive for our Ko-Fi supporters normally. So if you like what you heard today, you can come on over to www.rpgbook.club, where there will be a few extra episodes waiting on you when you donate. We now have membership tiers, so if you donate $1 more a month, you get all of the stuff that you get if you make a one-off donation, such as voting on our polls. Right now, since this one's coming out on the 20th, there will be a poll up. So if you're hearing this live, go and vote on the poll so that you can pick what our next game is going to be. You also get access to all the Bookclub no Kiseki episodes early, and we recently have added 2 more tiers, a $5 tier where we shout out your name every episode like this. Shout outs to Bernie, a new first time donator. Shout outs to Bernie, AA Ron 524, Cerebral Win, Anthony Lerma, VMK, Jofro Prime, Eli Bergmoss, Doho, and Tuxedo Kin. And then we also have a $20 a month tier where we'll not only read your name, but also read a 1-sentence plug of your choosing. Currently, our friend Carr is the only person at this tier, so he's a dentist, and his plug is not for his Twitch stream, but for your own mouth. He wants to remind you to brush your teeth twice a day, especially before you go to bed. So for Bookclub no Kiseki, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
And I'm Matt Jorgensen.
Adios, amigos.